Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Lockdown Legacy. As I'm sure you know by now, this is where I talk to someone about the things that they've been learning or how they've been growing in their faith over the past year. It's our way of looking for the positive things that God can bring out of very difficult times. So today I've got Lauren Buick here. So hello, Lauren.
Hello, Carlin.
Thank you for agreeing to talk to me, Lauren. Do you want to start by just telling us what you've been doing since last March?
Well, I can't actually believe that, we've been in lockdown now for nearly a year. It doesn't really feel that long, to be honest. But I suppose prior to the first lockdown, I was studying full-time at university and working part-time in Savers and Ballymena. And I suppose a memory that kind of stands out to me is when the customers were coming in, maybe before the lockdown, and just going crazy for hand sanitizers, masks. And I remember myself and my colleagues, kind of laughing at that and being like, they're crazy, but sure, look at us now, we're all wearing masks. And then when lockdown kind of came in place, the first one, me and my family received a shielding letter to say that, basically we had to lock ourselves away and we could only go out for basically necessities, and if we could use delivery services, we had to use them. So that was a pretty big shock to my system because I was always a sociable person. I like to get out of the house. I like to travel. So to be told that, you have to go into your room and not go out only limited time, I found that quite challenging. But then as lockdown kind of went on, I actually started to enjoy the slower pace of life. I found the much needed time to actually read God's word and just spend with him. And I actually had good quality time with my family. We went on walks and I did a lot of baking with Jenna, so it was actually really lovely. And I suppose that's the positive out of the lockdown. And then I suppose restrictions kind of started to lift. I couldn't even keep track of really what lockdown we're in now. But when restrictions started to lift, I suppose my family could never really return back to normality because we were still shielding. So I couldn't really go to restaurants, so I haven't actually had that privilege yet to, maybe meet with a large group of friends. So I suppose that's been a challenge too. And through the lockdowns, I was also waiting to start my university placement. And no one could give me the answer if that was going to go ahead or not. Which was also a struggle for me because I'm the type of person who likes to plan each day ahead. And every time I contacted someone to see if it was going to go ahead, they said no, we don't know. And I actually only found out a week in advance that it was actually going to go ahead. But now I am 6 months into my placement and I'm loving it. And that really taught me that everything happens in the right time and that God was in control through all of that as well. So I suppose that really takes us to the lockdown we're in now. At the start of that, it was probably the most challenging lockdown. I think it was because of the weather and the darker evenings. Now I'm working full time from home at the minute, so I'm glad that I actually have that routine to get up in the morning, get out of bed, and focus my mind on something. But I'm someone who likes to go on a walk, and because it was dark in the mornings and then dark in the evenings, it was so hard to I think it was the hardest because I couldn't actually go outside in daylight. But now the longer evenings are coming in, and I'm really happy about that. So there is always light through all the darkness, I suppose. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing in the brief summary since March 2020.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. It's a funny time to do a work placement, isn't it? And because you have to do it from home, but it's really great that and yes, I think many people will identify with what you said about things being harder there because of the darkness, the dark mornings and the dark nights. But it's a nice bright day today, so that gives us hope, doesn't it?
Lovely, yep.
You've maybe already mentioned a couple of these things, Lauren, but is there anything particular that you found challenging over the time?
Probably my main challenge throughout all this was lack of human contact. I seem to be living in a virtual world through work, through even catching up with my friends. I really did find that challenging because I'm the type of person who just likes to go to a coffee shop or go out for dinner and have a catch up. Yeah, so I suppose that was probably the biggest challenge, and not actually, being able to like call in to my granny and granddad's house and, have a cup of tea. And the challenge of, always thinking of keeping your 2 meters distance, washing your hands all the time. That was so hard to adjust to. But I suppose now that's just the new normality. Mm-hmm. So that's probably been the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Well, if we move on to more positive things now, then because as Christians, we do want to be reflective. We want to see how we can learn or how we can grow in our faith in any situation, no matter how hard that situation is. So are there things that you have been learning or ways that you think you've been growing in your faith over this time?
Yeah, no, definitely I have been learning a lot over this time. I've definitely grown my personal faith. God has taught me a lot. I think just having that slower pace of life and maybe not running here, there and everywhere. I could, have a routine every day, to have a quiet time and just spend with the Lord. And I've really learnt more about him too. And I also set up a little Zoom chat with my friends, which we used to do it once a week, now we do it every other week, where we would look at a topic in the Bible, and maybe all of us is from different denominations, so it gives us a chance to talk about different opinions of the Bible, and it really is encouraging as well. So that's really helped me to grow in my faith. And I found that journaling really helped throughout all this, just to even write down your thoughts and then just pray about it. Because it can be like really I suppose easy to get caught up and overwhelmed throughout all this, so to write down your thoughts is important too, I think, and pray about them.
That's lovely, Lauren. It's lovely to know that you've been growing in your personal faith over this time. If you were to take one thing away in particular, what would it be?
Probably just not to worry, and to realise that God is in control. I know that's easier said than done, but just remember that God's in control of all of this, even though it might seem so dark and gloomy at times, but God is in control and it will all work out in the end the way it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's definitely a good thing to take away. Yes, not to worry. Is the reverse then, or a passage that has been special to you or important to you over this time?
It's probably one of the most popular ones through this time, but it's "Be still and know that I am God." Psalm 46 verse 10. That's just been a comfort to me. Maybe if I have felt overwhelmed or fearful, it's just realizing, bringing myself back to reality and knowing that, be still and God is in control.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a lovely verse for us to finish with again. Thank you very much, Lauren. Thank you for telling us about what you've been doing and how you've been finding everything. And thank you very much for watching as well. And I hope that you've enjoyed listening to what Lauren has had to say. And hopefully it will encourage all of us to look for what God has been doing in our lives over this past year as well. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.